new world. I think that we've got an amazing lineup this year of presenters and designers and main stage shows, business sessions, hands-on classes. I hope that everybody makes sure to take advantage of absolutely everything that they can. It's a little early on a Saturday morning, and I don't know about all of you, but the mixer last night was absolutely amazing. Allison and the girls at Ludima's put on just a really great mix and mingle sort of party, and the bingo was a lot of fun. I know that I enjoyed it, and I got a free drink out of it, so, right? Well, my name is Doug Bates. I'm from Designs by Votes down in Sturgis, Michigan, and I have been a Great Lakes Floral Association member for maybe longer than I care to remember. We'll not talk about age or timelines or anything like that, but I'm really excited and looking forward to a fantastic weekend together. Our first presenter this morning is here. The sponsor is the American Floral Endowment, and she's an absolutely fascinating gal who has done a really interesting study on profitability and the way that flowers and plants move through the retail system. It's fascinating content, and I really can't wait to hear more about it. Please help me welcome to the stage Dr.
Melinda
Knuth. So sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, Doug. All right. Good morning, everybody. How are we doing? Good. Good. It is kind of early on a Saturday morning, but I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy that you guys are here to learn more about sustainability. So my presentation today is on the driving forces of floriculture sustainability. And as Doug said, this presentation is sponsored by the American Floral Endowment, as well as the project that I'm working on. And I'll get into more aspects of the project as part of this presentation. But I also would like to take a moment. As you can see, there are many companies that are on this first slide, and they are all co-sponsors of this project, and they all feel very strongly about providing information to the industry about sustainability and how to use that information. So thank you to all of the sponsors for this project as well. And as part of this project, so I'm actually, the picture today on the slide is I'm wearing the same dress, which is kind of funny. But it's being led by myself, Dr. Melinda Knuth, as well as Dr. Brian Jackson. And then the graduate student on the project is Amanda Soliday. And what we have been tasked doing is looking at what is currently out there in the industry, what is currently there in the academic literature, and how can we make this information accessible and usable for industry members to utilize, specifically about sustainability. And so that's what the research team at North Carolina State is doing. Now, when we talk about sustainability, I think it means something different to everyone who hears the word. And just for the sake of posterity, I actually went onto Google and I Googled sustainability, and instantly, in under half a second, over 2 billion results popped up. And it was like really crazy. That's a lot of different results that popped up. And one of the main encompassing definitions of sustainability that I found was that it's the avoidance of the depletion of natural resources in order to maintain an ecological balance. Now, this is one definition. And I bet if I talked to every single one of you in the crowd, you would say something slightly different. Your definition would be not exactly the same. And sustainability has been a hot topic for a while. I'm sure all of you have seen, if not the different snapshots. I actually went onto Google and went through my email and different print magazines that I have and took little screenshots and pictures of all these different sources that talk about sustainability. It's not just our industry that's talking about it. It's a well-known maintained body of literature and noteworthy amount of information that's talking about sustainability right now. And personally, I believe that where we are at with sustainability, because everyone argues, oh, sustainability means this, sustainability means that. I personally feel we're at the point of in sustainability where we were at when organic wasn't certified, where if you would say, oh, I'm growing organic flowers, or oh, I'm buying organic produce, it meant something different to each person. It wasn't clearly defined. And I feel that's where we're at when it comes to sustainability as well. It means something different to every person, and there's not a clear definition. As we're looking through the literature for this project, I found an opinion piece by a well-known sustainability expert, and he actually had the hot take of, do we actually have to define sustainability? Do we have to be able to have a fully agreed upon, measurable, or eliminated idea of what sustainability is? Or is it okay that it is not stagnant? Is it okay that it actually evolves as we evolve as a world? And I would like to pose that to the audience, to you guys, is don't think about sustainability as something that, okay, here's this mark, we are sustainable, we are good to go. I think that it's an evolving practice. It's an evolving idea and theory that we need to be constantly thinking about. So the different aspects of sustainability, and many people call them pillars, which is why I have the pillar description on the left-hand side. There's economic, environmental, and social. But I don't like the pillar description of it because it makes it seem as if they're silos, and they're really not. They integrate with each other. They're aligned with each other. You can have environmental concern and environmental sustainability, but it also has to have that economic component, and same thing with social. You can have the social sustainability, but it also has to be good for the environment and has to be economical for you as well to be able to do it. So I really like the picture on the right-hand side to visualize, well, what is sustainability? Because it's all integrated together into one system. So with this project, what the research team is doing is we are remaining at a 40,000 foot view. We're remaining at this top view of what is being done in sustainability and what can be done in floriculture for the industry today and into the future. And I really like this picture here because it's exactly what we're doing. We're taking a magnifying glass to what's being done. We're categorizing and taking notes and making lists on the different aspects that are happening. I also really like this description because one of the reasons that we're doing this project is because we've been told, well, there's all this information out there, but I don't know what to do with it. I don't know where to start. And I think that's how a lot of the industry feels on the left-hand side, where it's all this big squiggly lines in your head. But what we're trying to do in this project is categorize and make it palatable and make a list of different sustainability measures. So we're going from squiggle lines on not sure what's going on over to nice, neatly organized and easy to understand. And as part of this, we've already collected over 853 different pieces of information, which is a lot of different pieces. And this is from industry members, as well as business reports and academic journal articles. We're looking at different aspects because it's not just about, oh, what do academics think about this? Or what does industry think about this? Or what do consumers think about it? It's about all of these together and how they work together to be sustainability. It's not just one piece of the supply chain, it's all of it together. So the different driving forces of sustainability based off of looking at all these different pieces of information. I'm going to go through them, but I'm going to list them all here for you so you kind of get an insight on what I'm going to talk about. So first is consumer demand. That's a big one. As well as labor force, which is more on the social side. Supply chain logistics, more economically inclined. Geopolitical pressures, which is very social. Business efficiency, very economic. And then the technology treadmill and environmental concern, which both are more of environmental sustainability inclined. And then something that encompasses all, that encompasses all the different aspects of sustainability is concern for future generations. That touches on all three of them. So these are the different forces of sustainability that are causing, creating opportunity for sustainability in floriculture or creating barriers for sustainability. So the first one I would like to talk about is consumers. And I've chosen this slide specifically because previously, 50, 60 years ago, a lot of our industry and a lot of the supply chain was driven by what we, as the industry, wanted to put out to consumers. So we would say, hey, we're going to put this out and you're going to buy it. Well, now, with social media and the ability for consumers to communicate with each other quite a lot, instead, what we're experiencing is consumers in the driver's seat. And this is not going to go away. And in fact, this is something that I've talked about before to the industry as part of a project that was done in 2019, so pre-pandemic. We identified this was the big driving forces overall for the floriculture industry. And that's definitely an aspect that is happening and important specifically for sustainability. It's being driven by consumer demand. So with that, they are asking for these products, in floriculture as well as in other industries. They also are saying that they're willing to pay more for this as well. So they're wanting this, they're saying they'll pay more for it, and some consumers are paying top dollar for sustainable practices with their different products. They also have a concern for the planet, and they're more likely to choose products that are aligned with their personal beliefs. For example, Patagonia. They are very much about environmental concern, and there are some consumers who will only buy their water bottles, their backpacks, their clothing, their hats from Patagonia. And that's because it's being driven by the consumer and what they want. We also have to grapple with the fact of consumers also want instant gratification, and some sustainability practices are not necessarily inclined with instant gratification. So I don't have a solution at this point on how to deal with that. And this is something that we need to think about as an industry overall, is how do we handle consumers having this instant gratification and desire for these products, as well as being sustainable as well. And lastly, for consumers, they're interested in how our products are created and how they are given to us. A great example of this is with Amazon. If you haven't seen in the news lately, Amazon hasn't been getting good press when it comes to how they're treating their employees, and it's causing some people to cancel their Amazon memberships. And so because of that, Amazon is starting to change how they interact with their employees. Why is that? Consumer demand. It's forcing them to change their practices. So consumer demand is the first one. The next one is environmental concern. This one is extremely obvious. When we think about sustainability, I think the thing that people think about the most is the environmental impacts that are associated with sustainability. So with that, environmental concern for global warming, how the climate is changing, as well as water shortages. There are many parts of the United States who are very concerned about where water will come from in the future. And I'm sure some of you are aware of the saying that water before was easily accessible, but now it's going in the future, it could become our new currency instead of gold or silver. And I think that that's true. Water is going to become more scarce as our populations become more urbanized. We are more urbanized in the United States than we've ever been in the past. And what does that mean? That means that we're forcing more people into smaller areas on the same natural resources, water being one of the most important in that aspect. And then lastly, energy usage. So how are we using energy? Where is energy coming from? How is it generated? And with this, a big topic related to this, which also has to do with geopolitical pressures, is in Texas when they were having that very detrimental cold snap that happened in, I believe it was 2021. Yes, it was 2 years ago. And they lost a bunch of power because the natural gas lines were freezing, but they had renewable energy sources. And there was this whole discussion on, well, with the Texas power grid, where should we be putting our resources and how should we be going towards more renewable energy, or should we be staying with our natural gas resources? And this is all part of environmental concern integrated with different pressures as well. The next is labor force. What I mean by this is not consumers saying, hey, I want sustainable products, or hey, I want you to compost, hey, I want you to recycle, hey, I want local flowers. What I mean by this is coming internally from your employees saying, sustainability is important to me. Us recycling as a business is important to me. And that's what I mean by the driving force coming from your employees. I've been in discussions with some companies in the past 6 months talking to them about where's the sustainability practices that you're doing coming from. And the majority of them are saying our employees are asking us to do this. This is a large driving force on why the employees or the business owner feels it is the right thing to do. And so that's why they're choosing to do it. It builds that buy-in with the employees, and it's important to them. Also, with the labor force, when it comes to the more social parts of sustainability, not just talking about environmentalism, but also many employees are concerned about work-life balance now. And they are choosing to go with companies that respect them having time with their families away from work versus constantly being on the clock or constantly being available. Are any of you familiar with the term quiet quitting? Yeah? Okay, so what quiet quitting means, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the term, it's when I have promised as an employee to work from 8 to 6 every day. At 6 o'clock, I close my computer, and I'm not going to tell you that, hey, I'm going offline. I just go offline, and I quietly quit for the day. Now, this has been an uproar in some groups. In fact, there was quite a few articles that were done by Harvard Business and the New York Times looking at this. And the important part about it, and I think what the employees were trying to communicate there, is I want more work-life balance. I want my employer to respect that I want to work for the time frame that I've said, and I am not willing to work more than that. I want that work-life balance. And that is going to continue into the future. We're going to see this more and more. That's also why many young people are choosing to hop jobs more than previously. They want those benefits that are good for them. They want buy-in with their employer. They want to be respected by their employer. And they'll have loyalty, and it's been shown through literature, they'll have loyalty to employers who respect them and provide benefits for them. So labor force is a very important part of social sustainability. Next is supply chain logistics. With supply chain logistics, I think this is pretty clear on what this is. It's when, during the pandemic, many people were having problems with sourcing product. And where it's coming from, whether domestically or internationally, was a huge discussion, not just in floriculture, in horticulture, and pretty much in every single supply chain, every single industry. And in some cases, even though it is for floriculture, it is easier and more financially easy to grow products in South America because of supply chain issues where we couldn't bring them in. Some, excuse me, some industries and some businesses were choosing to get domestic because they knew, okay, there's going to be less supply chain issues with domestic. And I think that that's part of supply chain logistics in terms of how do we make it economically feasible? How do we, with this global connectivity, how do we make it accessible for everyone, make it economical, and make it work for companies? And it's neither good nor bad on where the products come from. It's more of the fact of what's going to work and what do consumers want and what can suppliers do as well. So the supply chain logistics, it was really big during COVID, and we've seen some of these aspects with lack of labor, the supply chain logistics struggling, as well as with some of the conflicts that are going on internationally as well, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. So geopolitical pressures. Now this bleeds into other driving forces, and it's very connected. And with geopolitical pressures, this primarily has to do with many of the inputs that we have into our industry. If you did not know, there is a new law that was put into place in the United Kingdom where starting next year in 2024, they can no longer sell retail product with peat in retail locations anymore. In 2026, with the same law, says in 2026, growers can no longer use peat product to grow floriculture, horticulture, any sort of product. This is huge. This is a really, really big blow to the horticulture and floriculture industry in the United Kingdom. And so they're on a race against time to figure out alternatives to peat and alternatives to these resources. This is something my collaborator, Brian Jackson, he's a substrate specialist. This is something he's very intimately involved with. Also, the Chilean government in 2021 outlawed the manufacturing of the peat bogs in their country as well. This is important for you as American consumers because a lot of the produce that we get in the wintertime, where does it come from? South America. And if a lot of those products are produced with peat products. Also, any floral that is produced with peat products won't be able to be produced with peat anymore. So if we can't grow our flowers, if we can't grow our plants in peat in those areas anymore, and they can't export peat, we use a lot of peat in the United States, what are we going to use as a substitution? This is a problem that we're currently facing. This is a geopolitical pressure that's been put on by the governments. So, one of the alternatives to peat is coconut coir. It primarily comes from Sri Lanka. That's one of the main sources internationally for coconut coir. That's because coconuts are native to those areas, and so it's easy to get coconut coir. It's the outside husk of the coconut seed, and they just rip it off, lay it out on the ground, let it cure, and grind it up, and that's what we use as an industry. It is an excellent alternative to peat. However, we are having some problems sourcing it. The reason for that is because the Sri Lankan government is currently going through a overturn, and one of the major exports in Sri Lanka happens to be coconut coir. The government is trying to control their people, and as a result, they are not allowing as much export of coconut coir as a control measure over their citizens. Now, that's something that's currently going on within their country, but how does it affect us? Well, if we can't get peat, if we're struggling to get peat, and coconut coir is a major substitute to peat, and we can't get that either, what do we do? So this is a major concern for us, and laws like this may continue, or laws like in the United Kingdom and struggles like in Sri Lanka may continue to happen and affect our industry. And lastly, for geopolitical pressures, one that's currently going on that I really don't need to explain is the Russian-Ukraine conflict. And with that, how does this affect us in specifically the floriculture industry? Well, much of the nitrogen that's processed for fertilizer comes from Ukraine. This has been and has caused a lot of supply chain issues for our industry, because if our major manufacturer is Ukraine and they're currently in a very large political struggle, then where are we going to get our nitrogen? We have to go to alternative sources. Also, for Europeans, much of their natural gas comes from Russia. Because of the political pressures and political conflict between Russia and Western Europe, they're sanctioning natural gas. That's been in the news quite a lot. Well, what does that mean? That means that instead of that natural gas going to heating greenhouses, it's now going to only heating homes because there's much less that they have accessible to them. Talking to some of my collaborators in Amsterdam specifically, there are some greenhouses that are closing because they can't heat anymore. And as a result of that, they can't stay in business. So these geopolitical pressures have caused a lot of the Western Europeans to innovate. So in growing alternative products or growing products in ways that are more sustainable and also economically more feasible for them because of these sanctions or because of these rules. And because of that, these geopolitical pressures have forced sustainability into overdrive. Innovation usually comes in circumstances of necessity. And because of that, that's why a lot of the European countries are going to these alternative sources of substrates and alternative heating measures. It's out of necessity. They have to. Next is business efficiency. So with this, some businesses, specifically, I was in a meeting yesterday with Art Van Wingerden from Metrolina Greenhouse, and he was talking about, yeah, some sustainability measures that I do, like recycling water in my greenhouse, I do because it makes good business sense. And I thought that was excellent, because that goes to the business aspect of sustainability. Some businesses are doing sustainability measures because it's good business, because it saves them money, and because it's that economic piece. It also happens to be good environmentally or socially, but is good for them financially as well. And that's one of the driving reasons in which they are doing sustainability measures. Another thing that they're doing, and I've heard other businesses doing as well, is choosing not to use as many pesticides and going to biological products. Well, not only is that less pesticide residue on flowers and plants, that also reduces the re-entry period for their employees. So instead of their employees not being able to go into that greenhouse bay or possibly coming into contact with those pesticides, they don't experience that anymore, and they can work more efficiently. That's a social and an economic sustainability measure that they're doing just by reducing their pesticide usage. Some businesses are starting to do sustainability measures because they're experiencing it from, or they're getting pressure from their peers, where, again, being in meetings yesterday, there was some business owners that were saying, you should do it because it is the right thing to do. And so there's also these peer pressures that are going on within the industry that are causing some businesses to do it. But there's also, not only opportunity, but there's also barriers where there's a lot of questions about, well, how to be sustainable, where to get quality information, how to do this the right way without it impacting my business negatively. So there's also that what I call business inertia that is leading people to not want to start to do sustainability measures, or that's preventing them from doing it because they don't know if it's good for their business efficiency. And then lastly is the technology treadmill. So with this, what I mean is that I'll use two examples. So the first of which is recyclable plastics. Now this has come into popularity off and on throughout the past 20 years. It first started with biodegradable pots that are made out of hemp and other resources. And so we moved from some businesses, this is not a huge percentage, but there's some businesses that moved to these biodegradable pots, but they found that in the retail center or when they were growing their plants, it's not working super well. So back to plastics. And then, okay, now we have plastic that is 100% recyclable. Okay, let's try that. Well, they also degrade, and it's not as great either. Okay, let's go back to regular plastic. And now we're in the era of, now we have compostable plastic. So there's kind of this cyclical nature that is happening with, that is driving sustainability in the background. As well as, for example, the other picture I have is with pesticide spraying. So with this technology treadmill, what's happening is a new pesticide comes onto the market and everybody uses it. It's working great and everything's going fantastic, but there's some bugs that become resistant to this pesticide, so let's retire some of these pesticide chemistries and now we have a new one. So there's this technology treadmill that is happening, and it is driving some portions of sustainability because of these innovations that we are experiencing in not only environmentally but financially as well. Does it make good sense financially? Yes, sometimes. Does it make sense environmentally? We hope so. But what all works together ultimately determines what stays on the treadmill versus what comes off the treadmill. And lastly is the concern for future generations. I've been hearing this over and over again, and I think this plays into all the three pillars of sustainability, where socially we want to be good stewards of the land and give our future generations the opportunity to have a good environment and to make a decent living and be treated well by their employers. Also, with the business transition and business acquisition, does it make sense for future generations when we are selling our businesses and acquiring new businesses for the future generation, and how are we doing that? This has been a problem for our industry, and that is a problem with economic sustainability. Are we actually, are our businesses just going away, or can they be acquired by future generations? This is part of sustainability as well. And all of this comes together into concern for future generations. And many people have said, well, this is important to me because I want to leave a good world for my children and my grandchildren. And I think that's an excellent way to say that. So these are all the different driving forces of sustainability. Now, there could be more that you're thinking about, and I am very open to that discussion and to talk about that. This is, like I said, I see sustainability as evolving and moving with us as we continue into the future. It's not a singular thing. It doesn't have a stagnant benchmark to it. And because of that, these things mostly are going to stay the same, but there could be new things that pop up as well. So I highly encourage you. I have a session that is tomorrow. I highly encourage you guys to come in to the discussion tomorrow. I would love to hear your thoughts. I know that sustainability is a very passionate topic for our industry, and I would be happy to talk about it more. I also wanted to bring into play some other aspects of sustainability. Now, these are not driving forces, but different things that you should be aware of and that I've encountered as part of this project. One of which is greenwashing, and greenwashing is termed as an unsupported claim to deceive consumers into believing that a company's products are environmentally friendly or have a greater positive impact than what is actually true. And these different words include non-toxic, bio, earth-friendly, eco, certified green, and chemical-free. And this is where, again, I'm going to relate it back to the word organic before it was certified by the USDA, where they were saying, oh, it's chemical-free. Not true. Just because it is organic doesn't necessarily mean that it is chemical-free. That's a greenwashing term. And that's also been shared with this surge in sustainability, where, oh, we're talking about sustainability, let's jump on the bandwagon and talk about our products in this way, or even change the packaging. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's different products that have changed their packaging to be more eco-friendly. They haven't changed the composition of the packaging, they've just changed the color. For example, Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola used to be, I'm thinking Coca-Cola Zero specifically, they used to be the clear plastic with the black band as the branding. Now it's the clear plastic with a green band, and they're saying they are eco-friendly. Now, whether that's true or not, I've not looked into the specifics of what they've done with their packaging, but as far as greenwashing goes, they've changed their packaging to look more eco-friendly to communicate that. Whether that's true or not, I'm sure we'll find out. It'll be in the news. Also with greenwashing, it's important to know that a lot of companies are doing this. And I would like to say that for the horticulture industry, that part of this project is we want to provide resources to the industry so that we are not doing this, so that we are not greenwashing. And with this project, there's a lot of little words on here. I can share this presentation with you, as well as if you go to the American Floral Endowment website, we have the project listed there as well. But what we're doing with this project, as I've said multiple times in this presentation, but just to remind you, we are providing the different sustainability practices that you can do. What are best practices that you can engage in and that you can communicate? Maybe you're already selling local flowers. Well, there are consumers who are willing to pay for that and who want those products. Communicate that. Are you looking into getting into recycling? Well, that's something that we are going to be providing resources for on. This is how you get started recycling. If you're considering doing carbon accounting, this is how you get started with carbon accounting. So the roadmap for our project. The first is discovery, which is where we're at now. We're looking into information. We are gathering information, which is part of the reason I'm here with you today. And we are synthesizing what's currently going on. Past that stage, then we are going to look at the different best practices that are being done. And we're actually going to ask different suppliers, growers, wholesalers, and retailers, are these practices working for you? Here are best practices. Are they working? Are they not? What are things that are easy for you versus where are there barriers? And how can we help you overcome those barriers to make it easier for you? So that is phase 2. In phase 3, we're going to take all this information we learn and come into a room with leading experts from the industry as well as academics and create calls to action for the industry. I'm specifically not using the word goal here because this is evolving, this is moving. With goals, once you reach that goal, it's like, okay, done. Instead, I would like to call these calls to action because it's something that can move with us as we go on our journey for sustainability. So different potential outputs that we're going to be providing, again, to growers, wholesalers, retailers, distributors, is we're going to be creating a website that's maintained by the American Floral Endowment of all these different pieces of information. So all 853 pieces of information are accessible for you guys to utilize as you see fit. Also, we're going to create a series of short reports cataloging this information. So even though you have accessibility to all 800 pieces of information, how do you use it? So that's what we're going to be creating. We're also going to do webinars. So some people learn better through audio and visual rather than through reading. And so we're going to do that, as well as create different figures and charts and catalog the different types of certifications that are available. And if you're thinking about this one, this was what this certification can provide to you versus this certification. And of course, interviews with industry members, because we can't look at what are the opportunities and barriers without communicating with different industry members. So we're going to be interviewing and interacting with different businesses to see how these different best practices are working. And lastly, as part of our phase 3 of the project, creating these calls to action from the 40,000 foot view that the supply chain should consider doing. And I love this quote that is from our information gathering survey, which I'm going to be sharing with you, and I hope you participate with us. But I just love this quote, and I think that it's something that our industry engenders very well, is we are open to suggestions and look forward to hearing what other partners are doing. And I think that really embodies us as the floriculture industry, is we do work together very well, and we are willing to help one another. And that's part of this project, is I need your input as well to understand what you're doing, so then it can help me so I can help you. So help me help you is what I'm trying to communicate here. So be part of the movement. Sustainability is here to stay. These driving forces are not going to go away, and they will continue to pressure you, whether it be consumer demand, your labor force, geopolitical pressures, supply chain logistics. These different pressures are going to continue into the future. So if you're willing to share what best practices you're doing, I highly encourage you to scan my little QR code. I also have different members of the AFE team who will be at the doors. So if you would rather pick up a postcard, it looks exactly like this. I would really appreciate getting your feedback on, it's 3 questions. First is, what are you currently doing? What's preventing you from doing different things? And what do you hope to get out of this project? Like, what would you, if this were a perfect world, what would you get out of this project? That's what I want to know to make sure that I provide what is best for the industry. All right, and then of course, tomorrow at 2:30, I am leading a roundtable discussion where I will talk individually with whomever is participating in the discussion, or if you would rather just sit to the side and listen in on the discussion. But please join me for sustainability in floriculture, that active discussion. That's tomorrow at 2:30 at the River Outlook E room. So please join me for that session if you want to talk about more sustainability with me as well. And with that, I thank you all for your time and for listening to our sustainability program, and look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Oh no, it's off. Yeah.
Sorry, I can be loud, right?
Yes. Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate Melinda, you taking the time to share with us this morning, and also American Floral Endowment for sponsoring your program. I think that it was some really fascinating tidbits, and what you said at the end there about all of us coming together and learning what others are doing. I think that that's exactly what we try to do here at the Great Lakes Floral Expo, is gather together, because we work so hard and we're so passionate about what it is that we do. We don't necessarily have the opportunities to take time to get together, to just to socialize and to mingle and to learn best practices. So thank you so much. We sure
Of course.
appreciate that.
Yes, thank you.
All righty.
right.
So some housekeeping things. We need to make sure that you are placing your bids for the silent auction. There's some amazing products in the back of the room there. Make sure that you get those turned in and you place your bids. Also, reserve your seat tonight for the banquet if you have not already done so. You do that at the registration desk where you checked in. Also, make sure programs like we have all weekend long, they're not going to be available without our vendors that are here. So I would encourage you to stop by and see each of our vendors, place orders with them. That's the reason that they're here. They want to show you their products, and I think that it's important for us to do our part as well in supporting them. They've provided an amazing opportunity for us. So the other thing that I want to talk about is at 10:30 today, so here in just a little bit, is the Designer of the Year runoff. You certainly don't want to miss that. Hosted and presented by Mr. Jerome Raska. Always an exciting time when he's on the stage. So I think that just about covers it. We will see you guys back here at 10:30.